Meet 22-year-old Jonathan Paul, a senior account executive with a very expensive obsession.
My big passion is obviously cars. I do love cars in every way, so it's just the passion for driving.
Outside of work, Jon's life is dedicated to cars, as are his mates. They all belong to the same online car community and, like him, spend any spare time and money fueling their high-octane lifestyle. He might earn a healthy 20 grand plus bonuses, but he's £17,000 in debt and counting, mostly spent on customising and creating the ultimate show car.
This cost me £11,000, it's brand new 2 years ago. These are the wheels and they cost me £1,000. This is the new airbag suspension and this was £2,000. I've also paid for new doors, my body kit and the labour to do the car, so that comes to a total of £12,000, but doesn't include the interior or the paint job.
That's £23,000 spent on a car that's not even roadworthy.
It does get depressing. You can think to yourself, buying all this money, I could have bought a house or something like that.
It's time to put the brakes on his spending. While lifestyle expert Jay Hunt will look for other ways for Jon to get the car buzz.
How would you feel if you were driving up to one of the shows in one of these?
Be feeling pretty flash.
Psychological coach Benjamin Fry will delve into what's driving Jon to spend.
So you're basically going to smash through your mental blocks and out into the light.
But will Jon steer himself back into the black?
I know I've screwed up and I shouldn't have gone out and got the loans, but my rules are sort of do it now, live by the consequences afterwards. I think I do need to stop being like that.
At only 22, Jonathan Paul is saddled with a £17,000 debt, and each month he slips further into the red. His typical lad's lifestyle involves regular socialising, a 20-a-day smoking habit, a passion for boys' toys, and an intimate knowledge of the local kebab shops. It all adds up.
At the moment, I'm just living in my overdraft. Then my pay goes in. The first couple of weeks are kind of like, oh, I've got a bit of money, what the hell? I'll go and spend it. I'll go out, I'll go and have a few beers, go out with friends, and then towards the end of the last kind of 2 weeks, I've become a bit of a hermit and stay indoors and don't really get to do much.
But it's a drop in the ocean compared to where the big money goes. Jon's life revolves around his car club, X2C, an online community of modified motor nuts.
It's a big part of my life. It's like a second family.
As well as spending thousands on customising cars, weekends are spent travelling up and down the country to car shows. It's not just the mileage that clocks up.
You've got ones up north, you're paying for a hotel room for about 60, 70 quid a night. And then you've got obviously the tickets to get in, which is about 35 quid. And then just your living costs for the weekend, basically.
And the astronomical costs haven't stopped Jon buying not one, not two, but 3 cars. His girlfriend Emma thinks he's losing the plot.
His other car he's bought, the MR2, wasn't really necessary to go for an expensive, fast car, to be quite honest. He only needed a cheap one around.
For the time being, Jon can't see beyond his master plan to convert his Fiat Stilo into the ultimate dream machine.
Oh, it's hours of fun, isn't it?
And his spending's hit 5th gear.
The whole purpose of buying the Stilo was so I could do it up and be able to attend the shows and be able to get the looks and, get the car in the magazines and in the adverts and get all the, fame and glory from that.
To discover what's behind Jon's desire to build an attention-seeking motor, Benjamin and Jay need to find out what makes him tick.
Do you think this is his car? Yeah, I bet you that's his car.
If it isn't, I bet he wishes it was.
He rents a room at a fellow car club member's house, so while it's empty, they wangle the keys for a good nose around. Jay's looking for clues as to where the money's going, while Benjamin's more interested in why he does it.
I don't know what someone who didn't know me would think of me. It's sort of a difficult question. I think obviously sort of take notice of the various car parts that's strung all over there in the room, and obviously sort of the DVD collection and magazines, and I think they'll be surprised at how much little space I've got.
Cosy. Look at all his cufflinks. Blimey, do you think that's his girlfriend?
Don't know.
She looks quite young. Nice selection of aftershaves.
Boys' toys, magazines.
Those all car magazines.
I don't think those are exclusively about cars. I think there's another specialist interest involved.
Cars and girls in the same magazine. Nice pair of Yves Saint Laurent trousers, just casually hung up like that.
Is that posh? Expensive?
Well, they're not cheap.
And then just loads more boys' stuff.
All this car stuff everywhere. I mean, it's like this piece of a car on top of your television. Why would you want that there?
You know what's odd in this room, Jay? Is not the fact that a young man has kind of pictures of girls and cars and whatever, but it's the single bed.
Well, I just don't think it's that cool to be living in a single bed when you're 22, is it?
Especially not with pink sheets.
Fairly typical stuff so far,
Ah, more girls and cars.
but the office is much more fruitful.
Oh, look, there's the website.
You think?
Yeah. Is he on there?
There he is.
Oh, look, there he is, Stilo John.
Stilo John lives in Wallington,
Yeah.
drives a Stilo.
I'm having a look at these. I wonder how much
What have you got?
all this car stuff is costing. Now you find out. CMW Car Sales Limited, 1,626. That's his new outstanding balance, 2,368. Oh, God, loads of them and bank statements. What's that invoice? That's it, the Fiat Stilo. So he's paid a £1,000 deposit, £1,000 for 22-inch PMW Annihilators. Does that mean something to you?
I think those are wheels, Jay.
And £6,500, which is half, up front.
Yeah.
God, it is an expensive thing. I'm going to take these with us.
Do you think he thinks if he has the right car, he'll get one of these nice young ladies to hang out with him?
I have no idea, but I'm going to find out, that's for sure.
It's time to turn John's turbocharged attention onto the state of his bank balance. Our financial fixers have arranged to meet him at the body shop where most of his cars are modified. But is he prepared for their lesson in customised credit control?
Could this be the man himself?
It's John.
It's John, Stilo John.
Hello,
How you
hi,
doing?
I'm
Nice to
Jay.
meet you.
Nice
How
to
you
meet
doing,
you.
Joe?
It's Benjamin.
Hello,
Benjamin,
Benjamin.
nice to meet you.
So, do you know why we're here?
I think we've just come to see a body shop where the Stilo usually lives.
The Stilo.
The Stilo
It's
itself.
like a sort of person.
It is. It's my little baby.
And it lives here.
She, my little baby, no, she's not here at the moment.
Actually, we're not here to talk about cars.
Right.
We're here to talk about money.
Yeah.
So you better come with us.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot less fun than you thought.
In the world of car modification, everyone's dream is to get their souped-up vehicle on the cover of a magazine. With that in mind, our credit crusaders have created their very own wall of fame.
So here we are, the first issue of Fast Credit, a magazine that we specially had commissioned to explain to the general public the pleasures and the pain and the cost of owning your Frontera. How much do you think that would be?
I bought it for £1,600.
Yeah.
And then I had to pay 200 or so pounds getting the suspension sorted out. And then obviously there's petrol on top and bits and pieces like that.
A bit of money then.
Yeah.
Well, the actual total is £2,930.
Are you surprised?
Yeah, a lot more than I thought. You think about it.
At least you got on the cover.
But John's story needs much more coverage.
Welcome to the first issue of Driven to Death. This magazine is all about how much money you've spent on both the Frontera and the MR2. How much do you think you've spent on them to date?
Not sure. Looking at the Frontier figure and then the MR2 in total, I don't know, about £5,000–6,000.
Well, the total for this is £7,560.
You're on £8,000.
Yeah.
And that's nothing compared to the headline-grabbing total he spent on all three cars.
You've made it to the cover of Maxed Out. Now, this magazine is all about your expenditure on all of your cars, your Stilo, your MR2, your Frontera, the insurance, the tax, the petrol, car shows, magazines, everything you've spent money on in the last 3 years on cars.
So, John, how much do you think the grand total of all of that is?
I think looking at the first and second posters are in the region of about 25,000.
The actual total for this is £54,633.92. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, a lot more than I expected.
A lot more.
Wouch. It's a bit silly.
It's a lot.
Silly money. Could have bought a nice Porsche with that. Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
Shocked.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite surprising how big the figure is.
It's horrible when you see it all there as a total, isn't it? Because it doesn't kind of clock when the invoices come in and it's 200 quid here and 300 there.
Yeah.
But when you add it all up like that, that's when it really looks a bit scary.
Can you carry on spending this kind of money on cars?
No.
That's going to be a problem for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
John's reeling from the revelation of his spend on cars. Now Benjamin and Jay want to tackle another of his indulgences.
Now, John, what I'd like you to have a look at is your very own special kebab mountain,
Right.
which I presume you approve of.
Yeah.
What we've got here is 250 kebabs, each representing £20, because we worked out that in the past year on your drinking, your snacking, your socialising, it's actually added up to £5,000. Is that more than you thought?
What?
I'm serious. Your
way.
favourite snacking.
That's quite worrying. There's a lot of kebabs.
So it's not just the kebabs, is
No,
it?
I know, obviously, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The socialising is sort of a big part of it. It's a big part of the club and the group of friends I have with, so...
It's fine, you give up the kebabs, give up the motors.
Yeah.
And what you got left in life?
Not a lot.
Not in with the girlfriend?
Yeah? OK.
John might be laughing now, but they're about to wipe the smile off his face.
So, John, what we're going to do now is work out with you how much you think is the minimum amount of money you can live on for 7 days during your cold turkey week. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask you how much you think you get through on an average week.
If I was to sort of toss it up, include cigarettes, drink, petrol and things like that, looking at, I don't know, about £100 a week, quite easily.
Right,
£100
a week.
Yeah.
That's what you
Okay.
think you spend?
Yeah.
Well, we've been through all your statements, and I can tell you that it's a bit more than £100 because you get through £312.06 in an average week,
Wow.
which is 3 times as much as you thought you were spending.
Yeah, a lot more.
And that's just on non-essential stuff. That's not on your rent or your bills or anything.
It's a lot more than I was expecting, definitely.
Well, it's a lot of money when you do it every week.
Yeah.
So how much do you think you could actually live on, bare minimum, for the next 7 days?
I wouldn't know where to start. Probably about £60.
£60?
What do you reckon?
What do you have to do all week?
So you reckon 60 quid.
That's nonsense, isn't it? 60.
I was going to say 30 quid. And I do think to make it completely confidence building, I'd like to give you an extra 5 quid for
For a
some
big night
petrol.
out.
And this is, for non-essential items, 35 quid. If you really concentrate, I reckon you can do that. It's only for 7 days.
That'll get me about 5 miles of petrol in the MR2.
Or a pint.
Will get me a pint.
So how many kebabs can you get for 5 quid?
Just probably one night in.
So here's the interesting thing. You're going to have to choose between, for example, driving somewhere or drinking something or eating a
Or
kebab.
eating a kebab.
And you're already beginning to get what cold turkey's really about. Because the idea is that by having to make these really hard choices and giving stuff up, you're actually forcing yourself to discover what's really important to you, what you can live without and what you can't.
I think John coped really well, actually, with the cold turkey and the shock tactics, but I do sense that he's in denial about the figures we've come up with, which are actually accurate. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to see a bit of rebellion along the way.
How do I spend £300 a week? I do not have a clue. It's mental, but you know, it'd be interesting to sort of sit down and actually have a look and see where that money goes, because I'd never, you know, I don't walk around with 300 quid cash a week. I never draw that amount out, I swear I don't. And I think maybe the problem is that because I don't have the cash on me, I put it all on card. So I'm not sort of registering it, it's just sort of put it on card, don't worry about it, think about it later.
It's day one of cold turkey, and with only £5 a day to live on, he'll have to get creative with his budget. And he's off to a good start.
It's lunchtime. Usually I go to the pub and have a sandwich and a pint of lager or whatever, or I go to the sandwich shop, or I go to the cafe. But obviously today, save some money on cold turkey. I'm just going to eat some spaghetti bolognese from last night and go from there.
He spent nothing all day, but back home, the car club message board is buzzing with big plans for a midweek night out, something to whet his social appetite.
So very, very tempted at the moment to be going out tonight. A lot of people are thinking about going out to a club in Sutton tonight. It's only sort of 9 o'clock, and I was sort of getting convinced by the rest of the guys to come out for a few drinks. Very tempted, but obviously I really want to stick to the cold turkey week as much as I can and not spend much at all.
Come the weekend, Jon still hasn't touched his cold turkey budget. He's even blagged a ticket for a car show. But with prices running into the tens or even hundreds of thousands,
Only £250,000. Be nice.
his £35 should be safe. Like a kid in a candy store, he's hungry for much more come the end of the afternoon.
This is Alex's car. This is one of the guys from the club. This is sort of the thing that I'm hoping for in the next year, being at one of the top end shows throughout the season. It is a big passion. It would be really great to see the car here.
He escapes the car show without spending a penny. But to get home, the MR2 needs petrol, and that's going to take more than the extra £5 Jay gave him.
I've just spent £19.85. I had to buy some cigarettes and had to put £15 worth of petrol in the MR2. So it leaves me with 15 quid for the rest of the week. Not too worried yet. I'm going to cut down on smoking a bit. So as for the rest of the night, I think it's just going to be a night in. Boring.
So far, Jon's coping well on his cold turkey budget. But if he wants to make it a longer-term commitment, he needs to understand what motivates him to spend. Benjamin arranges a meeting. He wants to get to the bottom of Jon's obsession with cars and find out why his identity is so tied up with the car club.
Now, what can you tell me about this car club then and the people in it? Why is this such an easy utopian place to be?
It's just, everyone's got the similar interests. Everyone's got their love for cars. Everyone gets on well. More than anything, I've found a decent crowd to chill out with, relax with, and a decent bunch of friends.
Find people you fit in with and feel accepted by, which is a big deal. And I think there's a sense in which you need to spend the money to keep in with the game. If you were spending a lot of money on cars, then you just have a little bit more of the limelight.
I was trying to do one better than the other.
Why? Tell me about it.
It's because it's unique. Something that hasn't been done before and probably won't be done again. Everyone who will see that car will know who it belongs to. It's mine.
There's no ignoring you.
No. And, then a lot of people are talking about it, which is nice. You thrive off it.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't everyone else?
Attention has the connotation of vanity.
Yeah.
I don't think that's you.
Yeah, that's always been... I've always worried about that.
You could easily be mistook for that
Yeah,
person.
I think I am, because it's the one thing I'll always try not to be an attention seeker. I don't want to be seen as someone who's vain, someone who seeks attention or anything like that. I'd hate to be seen like that.
And yet that's exactly how you portray yourself in one hand, and you talk about it that way. But it's not attention, is it? It's recognition. It is simply being allowed to be who you are, be seen, be noticed, and not be alone. Let's think a little bit about the attention then, and why that's important to you, what it means.
I think it probably stems back from school. I didn't have the greatest time at school.
Why not?
Bullied at junior school, big time.
What were you bullied about?
My teeth.
What's wrong with them?
Too many teeth and big buck teeth. And a dodgy haircut.
Was that rough?
Yeah.
And that carried on in senior school?
Yeah. I always used to think to myself, it would be nice to have a different face or something like that. Yeah.
You just wanted to be someone else?
Yeah.
Altogether?
Probably.
Because the person you were was getting bullied? Let's think about that someone else, the person you wanted to be. Any idea what that person would have been, who it would have been, how people would have treated him?
The guy who could always crack the joke and make people laugh in the lessons and things like that.
don't know, just probably someone a bit popular.
More popular?
Yeah.
I guess the same fantasies are still there in some ways, of transforming yourself and changing your name, being more popular, getting more attention. If we think about the transformation of a Fiat Stilo and giving yourself a fantasy name, Stilo Jon, it's a new name, it's a new facade. Are you sure that you've really left all this behind?
Don't know.
He's been put through the emotional wrangle. Now he wants to let off steam. Having spent 5 nights in, Jon gives in to temptation and joins the crew for their usual Thursday night get-together. But with food, cigarettes and alcohol to buy,
That's £10.89, please.
his 15 remaining pounds disappear.
It's been difficult. Obviously, everything I've done has made me think, oh, should I be spending the money or should I not? And I was really quite surprised how much money I need to last a week.
This is stressful, Jon.
I don't think I could live on 35 quid for the rest of my life, that's for certain.
Luckily, Jay's been through Jon's statements and drawn up a more realistic regime. The good news is it won't be half as bad as cold turkey. The bad news is it won't be half as good as he'd like. In the main, Jon's spending is directed at his car. Now Jay wants to show him where else it's going.
Now, Jon, what we've got here is your new budget.
Okay.
But before we have a look at this, I just wanted to ask you how you got on your cold turkey week.
I blew it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I blew it big time, but I definitely went over the 35 quid that you obviously generously gave me from what Benjamin was saying.
But still, less than you'd normally spend in a week.
Yeah, I sort of kept a record at work every day, what I was spending on and things like that.
And you've never done that before?
No. I've always wanted to do it, but never got around to actually sort of planning it all down and writing it all down.
So what we've got here is your new budget, okay? Now, what we've done is run through your current expenditure, and it won't be any surprise to know that at the bottom, you're overspending by £874.15 every month. So we can see the debt is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Now, what we've done is done a new budget for you, made some cuts in areas we think are sensible, and the good news is at the end of the day, we've even given you a buffer of £36.71. You see? One of the areas that really stands out is groceries, eating out, work lunches. Now, I know that you did actually make your own lunch, didn't you?
Made it a few days, yeah. It was a bit difficult, but yeah.
Well, we'd like you to do that a bit more because that would mean that your work lunches would be reduced from £100 to 30, and eating out and takeaways, if we can cut back a bit on that, it'll bring it down from 265 to 125.
That would be a total saving of £210 a month, which adds up to over £2,500 a year. Well worth cutting down on the kebabs. Next in the firing line is his 20-a-day smoking habit.
Now, I know giving up cigarettes is on your list of things you want to do. When you see it written down like that, £150 a month on it, how does that make you feel?
It's surprising. It's a lot more than I actually thought it was.
If Jon kicks the habit, he'll save another £1,800 a year. Jay knows exactly what he should do with the money.
If you could pay £210 a month on your credit card instead of the £60 minimum payment you're paying at the moment, it would only take 9 months of time to get all of those paid back. It's not like, oh God, this is endless and endless. It's like a real effort for 9 months, then it's gone.
There's just one final area where Jon could make huge savings. In the last year, his biggest monthly outlay has gone towards customising his Fiat Stilo. And since he's already paid for most of the work up front, his average costs should now come down substantially.
You know, the last few months I haven't needed to spend anything, and the next couple of months I hopefully won't need to spend anything either. So I've got £200 down as the recommendation. Hopefully I'll be able to bring that down even more.
Now, we have done this as quite a realistic budget because obviously this is going to be your long-term budget. Are there any areas when you look at that you think, oh, you're really feeling panicked?
I think the thing that I need to sit down and work out is how I'm actually going to, you know, write this all down and be able to sort of interpret it in the future.
Yeah. So what we need to do is to take all the information that's on here and plonk it in Jon's world in a way that you can access every day to make you feel that you're in control of your own money.
That's the problem, because I'm feeling so out of control, I don't know what I'm doing with it.
So Jon is now going to be in control.
Fingers crossed.
We know so.
Jay wastes no time in helping him start and begins with takeaways and eating out. Jon and girlfriend Emma regularly go out for pizza and pasta. It's time to transfer their love of Italian food from the restaurant into the kitchen.
With the new budget, we know that that's going to be an occasional treat if you fancy something like that. So I thought, if you do get a craving, desperately want a pizza, it would be better if you know how to make them. So today, we're going to have a lesson learning how to make really good pizzas.
Okay.
Are you up for that?
Yeah,
We're going to roll
that
up our
sounds good.
sleeves.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the kitchen. Hi, Sebastian, how are you?
Yeah, hi.
Nice to see you. This is Jon.
Hello, mate.
Yeah,
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm okay.
I think that apron has got his name on it.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Making pizza from scratch isn't hard. Even if he bought a ready-made base, Jon could still cook up a romantic dinner for two at a fraction of the cost of eating out. So while he gets to grips with his toppings, Jay catches up with Emma, whose job gives her a real insight into the pressure of coping with debt.
So Emma, you work as a debt collection officer, don't you, for one of the high street banks? So you're dealing every day with people who've got into a huge mess with credit cards. How do you feel when you see all that money of his going on the cars?
You know, I was really, really worried about him, and I thought one day it could be me or one of my friends ringing him up, talking about his debt and how he's going to be repaying us back. But
That's not a nice feeling.
no, it's not.
When you first met him, was he very open about being in debt, or did it take a while before you knew?
No, I don't think he even realised what money was going out and what it was actually going on. I just think, you know, he's got money in his bank and he was just spending it.
Do you feel that some of the things you used to do together have stopped because he's actually in debt?
We don't go out as much as we used to. I mean, we used to go out nearly every single weekend, go out for a meal all the time. And I think we didn't realise, even I didn't realise really where the money was actually going. And then when he says buying a new car and what he wants to do to that car, it's a bit, well, no, calm down.
But it's not all bad news. Jay's discovered ways they can enjoy time out on a budget.
So you're becoming an expert now.
Yeah.
But you are going to be on this budget for quite some time. So we've been trying to think of some ways that you could do things together and that aren't too expensive. So what we did was come up with some ideas where you can enjoy London for under a tenner. Right. So that you could still have a nice time.
Possible?
But come up here. Well, we've got some information for you. Lots of websites where you can research restaurants where if you eat earlier, for example, you can get really great deals. And then we found this fabulous cinema in the West End where you can go on a Saturday and watch a film for £4. So all of this sort of stuff is something where you could plan to go out and still keep within budget. Because what we don't want you to do is to get completely fed up and bored and then suddenly, guess what? He's bought another car. That is what we want to avoid. So your homework, Jon, is going to be to use the internet and anything else you like, but plan one day a month, probably, in London, where Emma gets a London treat day for the two of you, OK?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
It's been a week since Jon began his new regime. So far, so good. But if he's to make inroads into his £17,000 debt, he's going to have to make big sacrifices, especially where the cars are concerned.
Bought the Frontier for £1,600. Had it for about 6-7 months now, and we'll be selling it tomorrow for £560. It's just been sitting here for the last 2 months, not doing anything because I've got the MR2 as sort of my weekend drive. So there's no point having 2 cars. It's not insured or taxed or anything. It's just one of those impulse buys, which is a silly thing, and then he's got to go.
He might have lost £1,000 on the Frontera, but he's learning to prioritise. Meanwhile, his pride and joy, the Stilo, is back in the body shop. When he bought it brand new, it cost him £11,000. Now his dream of creating a top-of-the-range show car with gull-wing doors, 22-inch wheels and a thumping sound system is costing another £12,000. and there's very little to show for it.
The Stilo, as it is now, is worthless. I couldn't go and put it on the general market because it would pretty much be classed as a write-off. There's no point in stopping. You know, people tell me, well, what's the point in keep piling the money in? But I'm at a position now where if I stop, I'll lose everything. If I don't stop, I'll lose a bit more money, I'll spend a bit more money, but at the end of the day, I'll get what I wanted out of it, so it is worth it.
John's beginning to understand the correlation between his cars and his cash crisis. But things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. It's the run-up to Christmas, and temptation to spend is everywhere. For Jon, however, there's nothing to celebrate. He calls on Benjamin to talk things through.
I have split up with Emma.
You've split up with Emma?
Yeah. It's sort of a mutual agreement. It wasn't a horrible break or anything like that, but
right.
It's just not the right time. It's a bad time of year for me. I don't enjoy this time of year at all, because a lot of bad things have happened in the last 4 years, so...
Do you want to talk about the specifics of what's been difficult?
My best friend died on Christmas Day 4 years ago. Obviously that was kind of traumatic, and that was sort of a really bad time. And then I had my granddad die around this time of year, again 2 years ago. And then this year I just found out that my mum's stepdad's not too well either now.
So there's been a lot of trauma, really, around the holiday season. And the legacy of it is in a real way, a Christmas phobia. A time of year where you're so burdened by the history of it that you want to push everyone away from you. So it could be that it is difficult for you to want to have someone close to you, like Emma, when you're about to go through a difficult time of year again. So there's definitely something to be said for working on your Christmas phobia and putting Christmas in a new light and understanding not just the shocks you've had recently, but what it is in your life leading up to that time that made it so difficult for you to cope with those events. Because there's clues in there for us about why it is so important for you to, in a sense, buy attention. The two, they don't lead to each other, but I think they may both be symptoms of the same root cause.
The season of goodwill isn't ringing true for Jon. In an attempt to lift his spirits, Jay decides to tackle another of his bête noirs, smoking. She's devised something that should help him feel a lot better and have a positive effect on his wallet at the same time.
Now, Jon, I know you want to give up smoking. And also, if we could save that extra money every month, that would really help. So I brought you here today. Nothing to be alarmed about. All you've got to do is sit calmly and listen to a hypnotherapist. You willing to give it a go?
Yeah, definitely.
OK, we'll try it.
OK, Jon, so what I normally do then is literally get all of your triggers.
Hypnotherapist Alison Monroe starts by going through his daily smoking routine.
I have one at the start of lunch, one at the end of lunch. If I go to the pub, I'll have, I don't know, 5 or 6. As soon as I walk out the office, I like...
He smokes a lot more than he thought.
I really, really hope that this is going to work for Jon. It's not easy giving up. I've done it. I know how hard it is. So I really, really feel for him today. But I think it's a really great thing. And also, even though people say, oh, I can't afford to go and have one of these hypnotherapy sessions and give up, most people do a money-back guarantee. So if you start smoking again, you get your money back. You absolutely can't lose.
Yeah, I've just finished it. I'm very, very relaxed, very chilled out. I'm in two minds at the moment whether it actually worked or not. There's something in my head saying, oh, I'm going to go for a cigarette. But there's something tapping on the back of my head saying, no, you don't need to go for a cigarette. What's the point? It was good, though. It was, I think it's definitely worth it. If it can save me the 150 quid, I'll be so thankful.
Outside is frightful.
Benjamin believes Jon's need to buy attention through his cars and his aversion to the festive season are rooted in the things he lacked as a child. To help him understand this, he wants to stage an alternative Christmas, but rather than socks and DVDs, his presents come with a very different message.
Now, what I'm saying is that this is what you need more of at Christmas, and I think it's also what has undermined something in you that's left you vulnerable to this spending.
Okay.
Shall we see what it is?
Okay.
It's your present, you've got to open it.
Nurturing.
Now, isn't that interesting? What does nurturing mean to you?
Being looked after and being cared for.
Mm-hmm. In what way? You know, just food on the table, roof over the head?
Nurturing love, care and affection.
But don't you think you'd be better off if you'd had more nurturing?
No.
Doesn't worry you?
No. I'd be interested to see what the second one says.
So far, John's not overly impressed with his presents.
Free to talk.
What do you make of that?
Nothing.
Oh, maybe you don't feel free to talk about it.
I don't know.
It's just doing your head in, isn't it? It is, because you don't feel free to talk.
Why do you think that, though?
Because you don't talk. You know, I think when you want to talk about yourself, the first thing that happens is you start to think about how other people will react if they hear it, or if you'll upset someone, or if it's okay to bring that up.
Yeah, that's right.
You know.
Yeah.
And so inside of yourself, you're constantly censoring yourself, which means you're not free to talk. See, you're doing it right now.
Yeah.
You're not free to talk.
Okay.
You're not going to tell me?
1-0.
1-0.
Box number 3 is praise, something John feels he has enough of. But by box 4, Benjamin starts to hit home, and for the first time, John begins to look within himself.
I think maybe you act appropriately among everyone.
Yeah.
Which means that, in a way, the true you, the real you...
It's never come out.
It's never come out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a symptom of not being confident enough in your true core self to allow that person to come forward and let people like you or not.
No, I know that. I know I'm not confident.
Okay.
I think the confidence is being put down to being demoralised as a kid by others.
Other kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So other kids certainly didn't
when we went
praise
through
you.
the bit and said I wanted to change my face, I wanted to change my name, I believe that to be my lack of confidence.
Okay. What do you think? Another box?
I think we're at 2 all at the moment. I think you've got 2 right and you've got 2 wrong.
You think we're at 2 all?
Should we go for the decider then?
Yeah, if you like. It's like the big Christmas present. There you go.
Understanding.
Understanding. Did you get enough understanding in your life?
Not always, no.
No. To the point where I think, to be fair, it's quite hard for you to understand yourself sometimes now.
I don't have a clue about myself.
There you go. The reality is that there are 2 things, really, that make up a person's emotional health. One is what happens to them, and the other is how they deal with it. And I think in your case, I don't feel that you feel you've been really understood. And I don't think you feel you've been really understood by me. But
But then I haven't given you everything that you needed.
Exactly. I think that's become your strategy, is to not give someone what they need to be close to you and to understand you, because you're so pissed off that you haven't been understood in the first place. So it's your revenge, but it's actually not harming anyone but you now. And that's why Christmas sucks, because all those things that happened and everything that came before just left you with no one to understand you.
It's all right.
Benjamin's probing proves too much, and John needs time out. When he finally comes back, he's ready to admit he needs help.
Are you right?
The only reason I want to come back is because, OK, you can identify these, but how can you rectify them?
OK. Well, it's a very good question, and I think no one can understand you, including yourself, if you don't begin to open up and talk about who you are, who you really are. And it'll take a while to find out. I think you made a huge step forward today.
I need to find out who I am.
There you go. I think John found that really difficult. It's not easy to open up to a stranger, and I think for a young man, it's particularly unusual and disconcerting. More than that, I think Jon has stuff to say that's not being said. And I'm worried that if he doesn't bring it to me, if I don't really get to know what's really wrong with him, then how can I start thinking about what he needs to put what's wrong with him right?
Concerned about Jon's emotional state, Benjamin calls Jay for an update on the financial side of things.
He seems to be quite happy with his new budget, and for the time being he's sticking to it. He's wanted to give up smoking, so went to the hypnotherapist, and so far so good. No cigarettes, so he knows that that's extra money for him to play with. Well, I'm really worried about how the breakup with Emma is going to affect him, that this is going to be the cause of a major relapse. And what I'm worried about is he's missing Emma, he's maybe not opening up with you about that, and guess what's going to happen? Suddenly he's going to buy another car and off he goes again.
I think that, I spotted a lot of places where he needed support, but he won't really go there and admit it. So, maybe I just have to accept that he is a young man, that he can't deal directly with some things, so I have to find a way to work with him indirectly, and maybe in an area that's more in his comfort zone.
I mean, the car thing is a huge thing for him. It's like, not only is it his hobby, but it's his life. And I think it is quite hard for him to think about how his life would be if he didn't have the car. So what I'm going to try and do is think of something where I can give him the buzz to do with cars, but not to do with buying another one and shelling out loads of money and going down that route.
But before they do any more work, they decide he needs to get through Christmas first. The new year dawns. With a few days off, Jon's had the time to reflect on his situation.
I had a good Christmas. It was nice and relaxing. I think throughout the whole of the period, I was constantly thinking about, our Christmas chat and the boxes and those words that we used and things like that. And it did bring, it did get brought up in my sort of chain of thought every now and then, and I think that's probably what made me relax more, because we discussed so much, and we discussed, the problems that I've faced over the festive period, and it kind of probably numbed it down a bit.
And he's also feeling the benefits of Jay's strategies.
The quitting smoking's brilliant. I feel a lot better for myself, healthier. Obviously it's saving me quite a lot of money, which is noticeable, really noticeable, because if I haven't got cash with me, I don't see like these £5.50 or whatever for cigarettes on my card that I'm spending every now and then, every day practically, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I'm glad that's gone.
With Jon refreshed and upbeat, Jay decides to tackle his biggest financial headache, his driving passion for cars. She's found a way to give him the buzz of pushing pedal to the metal without ruining his credit rating. Welcome to the Classic Car Club.
Wow, look at this. Are you happy here?
Yes,
It's like you're in a toy shop. One of the reasons I brought you here today was to talk to you about long term, because obviously I know we've done quite a lot of work on you sort of finishing up the Stilo and that sort of chapter ending and you getting out of trouble. But what my worry is that sooner or later you might get a bit bored, you get one of your extra bonuses at work and you suddenly think, oh God, what am I going to do with this money? And before you know where you are, you bought another one and you're down this route again.
As director James Evans explains, the club gives its members the chance to drive a range of high-performance cars at a fraction of the cost of running them.
It's very simple. You basically pay an annual membership fee, you pay a one-off joining fee as well, and in total that's about £4,000. For that, you get a block of points. Each time you use a car, you use certain points up. But on average, members get, in excess of 40 days driving. But the key thing for us is that the prices are capped. So you've paid your money, and that's it. Your insurance, maintenance, storage, everything's included.
Joining a club like this would give Jon all the pleasure, but a lot less financial pain of driving a very sexy car.
How would you feel if you were driving up to one of the shows in one of these?
Be feeling pretty flash. It would be quite nice, seeing all the people in their Fiestas and things like that, and then you roll up in a Maserati.
You know, I know for you, from your perspective, it's about your personality, it's about the cars that are sexy for you.
Yeah.
I believe that if I turned up in something like a Ferrari or whatever to one of your amazing meets, and you've got these stunning cars there, you know, they are stunning, but you turn up in a beautiful classic Ferrari,
you're gonna get
I think you're actually going to get more looks. Yeah. Everyone's going to go, wow, he's a cool guy, because he's not trying too hard.
Building a stilo, it's all about your own identity in the car, but something like one of these, it's...
Yeah.
There's so few of them on the road, it is your identity anyway, I think.
So if you had to choose one of these to go out for in the weekend, which one would you choose?
Probably have to choose this, the Maserati here. It'd be a nice, sexy number.
Any chance you can do a trade-in of his MR2 for this?
Right, OK. Well, I don't know. You've got to bring it in. We'll have a look at it, you know. You never know.
He might not be trading in his MR2 for the Maserati, but he's been inspired to take an equally radical step.
I need to sell the MR2. It's costing far too much to keep, costing far too much to run. Obviously, Jay's identified that I'm, you know, spending at least 200 quid a month on it, and I'm just not driving as much as I used to anymore. Unfortunately, she's got to go.
4 weeks ago, car fanatic Jon was on the road to financial ruin. His lad's lifestyle kept him constantly overdrawn, but his quest to create a customised show car...
Oh, it's hours of fun, isn't it?
...had run up a £17,000 debt. Having been shown the true extent of his spending...
Yeah, a lot more than I expected.
A lot more.
Wow.
Our expert set out to get him back on the straight and narrow. Jay focused on practical ways to cut down on his spending.
Nothing to be alarmed about. All you've got to do is sit calmly and listen to a hypnotherapist.
Benjamin opened up some old emotional wounds.
I always used to think to myself, oh, it would be nice to have a different face or something like that.
Mm-hmm. You just wanted to be someone else.
Yeah.
Which proved to be difficult medicine for Jon to take.
All those things that happened and everything that came before just left you with no one to understand you.
It's all right.
With Jon's financial journey almost complete, Benjamin wants one final stab at helping him face up to the emotional baggage that's holding him back.
Now, I do think it's been really tough for Jon to open up. It's really tough for him to even think about the past, let alone talk about it. So today I'm going to use a visualization technique to make what he's talked about seem a little bit more real to him and to get him to express it in a different way. Now, welcome to the wall. What do you think it could possibly represent?
Not a clue.
Well, not to be too cheesy about it, but these, for me, are your mental blocks.
OK.
Things that are stopping you moving on in life.
OK.
Can you give me an example?
School.
Yeah, school. That was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
These are spray paints. What I want you to do is I want you to just decorate your wall. And we're going to make it into something that represents everything that's held you back in your life. You said the first thing for you is school. Now, can you think of anything to put on this wall that represents school for you?
I don't know, the Whitgift rugby top.
All right.
Having resisted Benjamin's Christmas therapy, Jon is surprisingly enthusiastic about painting his wall.
A bit sad face.
Yeah, sad face.
Although the exercise quickly unlocks some very personal and painful memories and highlights Jon's feelings about his own identity.
Yeah, I'm going to put something in the hole, which I think is a big part of what's going on at the moment. Question mark. Who are you? If you're not Stilo Jon, you know, if the car isn't your face, what is your face? Anything else you want to put up there?
I don't know why, I just want to write confidence on there.
OK, you want to write confidence.
Confidence.
Well, confidence is what you want to find.
Confidence.
Yeah. What's another word for lack of confidence? Fear?
Fear.
So, Jon, come on, talk me through what all these things on this wall really mean to you.
Well, obviously got the top for secondary school, the attempt at a cap, represents like the the cap we used to wear at junior school.
Yeah.
You got the cool crowd and me as Billy No Mates. Obviously, a big one for me is sort of the gravestone for Dan. Yeah. Stress.
Stressed you.
Stressed me.
That's your head exploding with anxiety.
Unhappy me. I think fear is sort of a key word for me as well, and obviously, who the hell am I?
What I think this is the stuff that's really been holding you back in life. It's like a background feeling. You've always had it. It's always been there, probably ever since you first went to school. So you don't notice it anymore. But you do notice when it's gone. And I think when you feel compulsively drawn to buying stuff, expressing yourself, building up your car, which is your new face, and all this other bad stuff's gone away. So what you've got to remember and focus on is when you feel like spending, it's all that other stuff that you're spending to avoid. Instead of avoiding it like that, what you can do is think that there are other ways that you can get through these mental blocks.
Now Jon has identified the things that are holding him back, there's one very real and physical way to break through his personal barriers.
So you're basically going to smash through your mental blocks and out into the light. And that is the bright new future.
Into the new future.
So fire up your engines.
Okay. Thank you. See you in a bit.
That was good fun.
How's that feel?
That was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
You left your mental blocks behind?
Yeah, they're still in there.
They've just been cast into the wind, haven't they?
They have. They got knocked for 6.
OK, well now you're on an adrenaline high.
Yeah.
You're strapped into a rally car.
Yeah.
You've got a top instructor next to you. I thought it might be a chance to let you just have a bit of fun.
Fair enough.
After all that. So you guys go off, do a few things that you do, and I want you to just enjoy the moment.
OK, thank you. I will
Have
do.
a good laugh, Jon.
All right.
Well done.
See you in a bit.
For me, the image of the day will always be from where I was standing, just watching him drive through that wall. The whole thing just exploded in front of my eyes. And all those images were just shattered as Jon disappeared out into the light. And I think that's a great memory for him to take forward. When he thinks about spending money, when he thinks about dealing with his worries, he knows that he's not alone and he can take care of things. His friends are with him, and there is another way to go. It doesn't just have to be done with his credit card.
2 months ago, Jon Paul began the painful task of getting himself off the road to financial ruin. It's now time for his final reckoning with Benjamin and Jay.
When you first said you were going to do this, did you think it was going to be this difficult?
No, not at all. Not in terms of sort of the mental side that Benjamin's put me through.
Now that it's all done and dusted, how do you feel looking back on the psychological process?
It was difficult. It was difficult. Obviously, the Christmas treatment, I think it made me really, really think a lot. And obviously, I think with you saying like some of the key words, you know, one in particular sticks in my mind. I want to know if you think what that word is.
Understanding?
No.
Free to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the understanding one tipped me over the edge, though.
Yeah.
But the free to talk ones that I'm thinking about a lot more.
Thinking about the boxes, I thought that was quite an upbeat day. Do you think that driving that car through those boxes has enabled you to put some of those issues maybe in perspective or even behind you?
Potentially. I think as, you know, if I ever come across to think about those kind of issues, it will bring up that memory and it will just sort of like disperse it or something like that, I suppose. The question mark's still always in my head, though.
Of who are you? Well, you won't know until you talk enough to find out.
True.
So talking now about the financial side of everything, this has been a good thing for you, hasn't it? Realising just how much buying all the cars was taking out of your account.
Yeah, especially when I saw the figure when we did the shop tactics.
What do you think now when you look back at the total and all that money that you spent on the cars?
An expletive. It really was an eye-opener. And obviously now I'm able to look at where my money's going a lot more. I've become addicted to sort of checking my NatWest online banking and things like that. And now I've set up a savings account. I've already managed to put about 500 quid away.
that is often the case, that people who've been the biggest spenders can become the best savers because you become obsessed.
Because obviously you've got the savings account there and you've got your normal account there, and I just go drag and drop all day long. It's pretty mad. It's like, I think about, oh, I would have spent a £5 on cigarettes today. I'll put that on there.
So 17,000 has got to be paid off. How long do you reckon that's going to take? What's your plan?
My ideal goal is it's got to be gone within a year. 12 months maximum.
That's pretty focused.
It's what I need to do.
I have to ask the question, what is happening with the Stilo?
It's taking shape. It will start taking shape in the next couple of weeks.
So once she's done, that's it, no more money going on a new car?
No, there's no more sort of spending seriously stupid amounts of money on a show car. Whether I buy another car's not a question.
Yeah, but not a show car?
No, I wouldn't go the whole hog and do it all again.
Never again?
Never again. You only do it once.
It has been worth it. I think it's been an eye-opener for me. I think it will make me think before I spend now.